to Exposing Workplace Bullying, where we pull back the curtain and have real conversations about workplace abuse. This is episode 15, The Power of Bystander Action. I'm your host, Dr. Jan Kircher. You've probably noticed that I've been hard on bystanders these last few episodes, and here's why. Bystanders too often are treated like heroes for doing nothing, like silence is some kind of virtue. But inaction is not neutral. Complicity is how bullying survives and how harm spreads. And people like us, we pay a heavy price that too often goes unnoticed when bystanders do nothing. That said, I get it. Most bystanders aren't monsters. They're stuck, caught between self-preservation and doing what's right. Bully culture doesn't reward courage, it punishes it. So most people go along to get along. Some even cross the line. And the truth is, bystanders don't get any real help on how to intervene. They get the same vague advice we do. We're told to document, report, or leave without any real guidance. They're told to just speak up, as if that is simple, safe, or strategic. But what does that even mean? Does it mean blurting out in a meeting, "Damn, Bob, shut up"? That's not effective. And if Betty tries it, she'll probably get humiliated. But hey, she spoke up, right? Isn't that what you told her to do? If we want bystander action to matter, we need to give people better tools, clearer strategies, real options. Bystanders aren't immune. When they do intervene, they often get punished, publicly or quietly. So most stop trying, and frankly, can you blame them? So going along becomes the easy choice. But not everyone goes quiet. Some choose to act, and that matters, because bystanders have two choices: normalize bullying through silence or disrupt it through resistance. But we have to be honest, the risks are real. Bystanders are protected, not from the bully, not from Bob, and they're not protected from other bystanders taking action against them. In toxic workplaces, even small acts of resistance can trigger backlash, exclusion, retaliation, quiet sabotage. That's real, and bystanders need to know it. Just like we do, there are risks for fighting back. On more than one occasion, I spoke up for colleagues who were bullied. And that wasn't all I did. I went straight to the bully, the chair, and told him to his face what was happening wasn't just wrong, it was unethical. It was hurting students. I was naive back then because I thought it would actually make a difference. But, of course, it didn't. I didn't see it at the time, but I'd crossed a line because I told the bully they were wrong. That's what happens when bystanders take action without thinking. The bullies take note, not publicly, not immediately, but quietly. They flag you as a threat, and later they make you pay. So, yeah, the risk is real, and bystanders should think carefully before taking any actions. I don't want anyone in the workplace to be hurt by bullying, and that includes bystanders. But not every strategy carries high risk. Some are low risk. Some carry no risk at all. tactics that don't require confrontation. Don't put bystanders in the line of fire, but still make a real difference to someone being bullied. So let's get into those. The first one is what I expect every bystander to do. Document. Yes, that's right. I said it again. The dreaded D word. It always comes back to this, doesn't it? That should tell you something. In bully culture, collecting evidence matters. It just does. Simple as that. And for bystanders, it's one of the safest things they can do. No confrontation, no exposure. They can do it privately, at home, and Bob never has to know. Bystanders should track the same core details. Who was there? What happened? Where and when? They need to be objective too. The format doesn't matter. The consistency does. Ideally, bystanders would say they're documenting. But even if they don't tell you, what matters is that they are. Now, the next action that bystanders can and should take is profound. Just kidding. It isn't really profound, but it almost never happens in bully culture, which is frankly extremely sad if you ask me. Bystanders can simply ask the person being bullied a question. How are you doing, Jan? It may not seem like much, but in a place where most people treat you like you have the plague, a simple check-in means everything. But I want to raise a red flag here and bring us back to the reality of bully culture, because even a small gesture like, "How are you?" can cause problems. If Bob sees Betty talking to me, it could create trouble for both of us. It's risky to be seen making contact with the person who's bullied, even if Betty's only asking a harmless question. I've watched bystanders practically fall over themselves to get away from me, terrified the chair would see them talking to me. They didn't want to face the backlash from Bob or the pressure other bystanders would put on them for daring to get too close to me. So yes, bystanders should check in and do what I like to call treat your colleague like they're human. But in all seriousness, they need to be smart about it. Do it privately or subtly if that works better. A quick message, a quiet moment in the hallway, or a call after work. What matters is that you let them know someone still sees them. And beyond the check-in, bystanders can quietly act as a support person. That means active listening, not a bitch session about Bob or your organization, but a chance to talk about what's really happening and the reality of what both of you are experiencing. Bystanders can also help by confirming what they've witnessed. A simple statement like, "Yes, Jan, I saw that person charge around the table at you, and that wasn't okay." It strengthens your credibility and counters gaslighting. Support goes both ways. And the person who is bullied can return the favor by listening to what the bystander is experiencing. Their role in bully culture is not always easy, and that kind of connection and mutual support in the middle of chaos can be a lifeline for both you and the bystander. I'd recommend setting up a weekly check-in. Keep it simple. Keep it safe. Meet after hours or give each other a quick call to see how things are going. You can text or email, but use your personal phone and accounts. Never, under any circumstances, Use work devices. That's the key. No one needs to know. Check-ins and quiet encouragement are great, but you need more than that. You just do. People who are bullied need bystanders to show up, even if it's passive, when the bullying is happening, in those moments when things get extremely difficult. And there are so many things bystanders can do to make their actions look like everyday work, things that Bob won't notice. Let me give you some ideas by sharing a few things I used to do, both when I was just a bystander and when there were two of us being bullied. Quick sidebar: when there's more than one person being bullied, you sometimes end up watching them get attacked. It's almost like you're a bystander, but of course you're not. And that's a particularly insidious and painful place to be. Just saying. When I found myself in that situation, one thing I did to show support was sit directly across from the person being bullied. I'd give her a small thumbs up or a quick wink so she knew I was there, that I was standing with her, even if I never said a word. There's real comfort in that. It reminds you that you're still seen, still human, still valued. But it doesn't end there. Bystanders can do more than just sit there and be supportive. Betty can take action, move out of the passive role, and directly confront the bullying in subtle ways that, again, Bob won't catch on to. That part's key. It protects Betty while still making an impact and helping you. Bystanders can use micro interruptions that don't have to be big or dramatic. The point is to throw Bob off just enough to shift his focus away from the person he's going after and redirect it onto them instead. So Betty can break the bully's rhythm with small questions like, "Bob, could you clarify what you mean by that?" Or, "I'm not sure I follow what you're saying." And micro-interruptions can be used to keep Bob focused when he's derailing meetings by bullying, or to try to change the subject if Bob gets particularly abusive. Betty can step in and say something like, "Hey, Bob, I have a few questions about the budget. Can we get back to that?" Or, "Does anyone know where we are on the agenda?" She can also disengage quietly with things like, "It looks like we've covered everything today. Should we adjourn?" Micro-interruptions can be as simple as saying, "Let's keep this about the project." That's it. No drama, no debate. Just a steady reminder that the conversation has limits. In bully culture, staying calm and setting that tone can do more than people realize. It signals that the bully doesn't get to control the energy in the room, and that's super powerful. The other thing it does is it role models good professional behavior, and in bully culture, that's essentially non-existent. I love micro-interruptions almost as much as I love microscripts. One reason is that you can be pretty creative in how you use them. They're also really effective, and you don't even have to say anything. Less is more, if you know what I mean. When Bob was going after another faculty member, I had a whole backpack full of benign, silent tricks of the trade to throw at him. Figuratively, of course, not literally. One thing I would do was I would simply just cough. Just enough to be noticed. Enough to break Bob's rhythm. It wasn't much, but it gave the person being bullied just a little bit of breathing room, and it distracted Bob. You know, one thing you should know about me is I've got the attention span of a gnat, so meetings can be rough for me. I tend to doodle in meetings to try to stay focused. And yes, I'm an old school doodler, using paper, of course. And yes, I purposefully crumpled that paper as loudly as I could when things got tense, stood up, walked over to the trash, and threw it away. And sometimes my chair would just happen to fall over. I'd say, "Oh, sorry about that," and set it back up. You know, I never quite figured out how my chair always seemed to fall at the most convenient times. Wink, wink. But that's all in a day's work, or just another opportunity for bystanders to stack strategies unnoticed. I'll be honest too, it didn't hurt my feelings at all to watch Bob fumble when I distracted him. I liked turning the tables, watching him forget how he was going after my colleague, and laughing to myself while he tried to recover. Because, yeah, I enjoyed watching him lose his focus mid-bullying. I know it's petty to feel that way. I know it is. But turnabout felt like fair play, especially knowing how much he enjoyed hurting me. Guilty as charged. That's just an ugly truth about bully culture. It is. It breeds that kind of joy. Finding satisfaction or glee even in someone else's pain. Even those of us who've been bullied fall into that sometimes. And no, it wasn't okay. It isn't okay. Full stop. That's why we need strategies and why fighting back matters. Even quiet, safe, small acts are a form of resistance. They push back against the bullying. They push back against Bob without getting caught in the crosshairs. Each act of resistance weakens the barrier that shields bullies from accountability. Luckily, there are plenty of ways for bystanders to do just that. From the sidelines, without a grandstand, without a confrontation, and even without anyone noticing. Those moments can be more effective and safer than speaking up, whatever that means. But subtle doesn't mean reckless. Bystanders can't get overzealous or assume they know what's best for the person being bullied. The urge to rush in, to help, to confront Bob directly, especially without checking in, can do more harm than good. I get it. When you finally start seeing the bullying clearly, it eats at you. You want to do something. I've been there. One time, after a vicious bullying incident, I went to our supervisor, trying to be supportive of my colleague, but I didn't tell her what I was doing. It was just bothering me so bad. I just couldn't stand it. But that conversation with my supervisor, it only made things worse for her. I unintentionally caused her more harm. I didn't mean to, but even though my intentions were good, it didn't stop her from being hurt more. That's something we all need to think about, especially in bully culture, where nothing is ever as it seems. Bystanders should think before they act and consider the consequences for the person being bullied, and if that person even wants their support. They might not want you to do a damn thing, and that's their right. When it comes to taking more active steps, those actions need to be intentional and agreed upon. They shouldn't be impulsive. And look, not one strategy we talked about today is about some grand, sweeping gesture that changes everything overnight. Bystanders don't start taking action and voila, the bullying stops. It doesn't work that way. Yes, these strategies are small, but they're small by design, not because they're weak, but because in a bully culture, big moves get noticed, and when they do, they often backfire. Small actions build quietly. They shift the balance without setting off alarms. And that's the point. Bullying isn't just one person behaving badly. It's embedded into the workflows, the norms, the people who've learned to look away. That's why there's no single fix, no hero move, no one-day solution or strategy. It takes layered interventions, strategic, sustained, often subtle, but intentional. The work we outlined in this episode is part of that. It's not flashy, but it's foundational, because there's a ceiling to what one person can do alone in bully culture, whether they're a bystander or the one being bullied. Real change starts when those small, quiet acts begin to link together. When people start stacking strategies that slowly take the power away from the bully and hand it back to the collective. When bystanders recognize each other, that's when power starts to shift, and that's where we're headed next. In episode 16, The Art of Coalition Building. We'll talk about how to turn bystanders into allies and move from discrete solo support to coordinated strategies that take the fight straight to Bob. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for listening. If this episode hits home, check out StopBullyCulture.com, where I share tools, resources, and real talk to help you deal with workplace abuse. And if you know someone who needs this, share it with them. Until next time.
They gaslight and plot, play their games. Witness a smile, you're part of the shame. Your boss stays silent, closing the door. How many voices will they ignore? The bully lies, the brave get burned. The office watches, no lessons learned. Your boss hides, truth gets colder. It's time to stop the bully culture.